We leave season 16 behind. The key to time, all done and dusted. Now we're on a randomized course throughout the universe.
No more keys.
And we lead ourselves into season 17. Episode number 104 total. But in this, season 17, the first episode. Destiny of the Daleks.
No
What
more
is their destiny?
keys.
Why is it their destiny? Who is their destiny? How is their destiny?
Why?
Where is their destiny? What happens in the story, dear?
Daleks, I think? I don't remember anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, it did just happen. Oh, right, I took notes. So the doctor is fixing K9, and he's coughing and I guess has laryngitis. Back on the TARDIS, it's the princess from the previous episode, but it's Romana who regenerated into her, and the doctor's like, no, I don't like that. Also, what about this body? It's really short. Also, what about this body? It's way too tall. And then she walks out dressed exactly like the doctor, but also she's still the princess, which is weird. She's Astra now, basically. The TARDIS swooshes into their place they're going, and it's on a cliff, and they learn that this place has a lot of earthquakes and rocks, and if you look outside, there's rocks. Also, K9 really should be repaired at some point, with the brain arrows pointing in the correct direction. Outside the TARDIS is, in fact, just all rocks. The doctor thinks he's been here before, so the doctor's like, let's go figure it out. And it's a quarry. I've been in a quarry before. Also, it's full of concrete, and it's got some tremors going on. Let's go check it out.
Concrete.
And then they do. So going past some stuff, they look at a building, but the ground starts to jiggle wiggle, and there's some people taking a person on a stretcher to a spot where they just cover them in rocks. I'm sorry, did jiggle wiggle get you?
Yeah, because it reminded me of that Louis Theroux thing. The money don't jiggle jiggle, it folds. I like to see you wiggle wiggle.
Anyway.
Oh, sure.
The doctor wants to raid the fresh grave of a dead person just to check the body to see if it's warm or something. And the doctor goes, it was a pilot of another planet, and he died of starvation and exhaustion at the same time. And the doctor found out a whole bunch of other things. But there's something in the sky, and it's flying over to another area about a mile away and landing. And once it lands, it starts to spin and makes a nice little hole for itself to hide in. And they go look, but then they get chased by explosions into an underground room, and the doctor gets hit by a really big rock, but he's okay. So Romana leaves just to go look for help. While running around, Romana gets chased by a weird vampire-looking man with a yellow rope, and there's more explosions, and the TARDIS is now covered in rocks. K9 is still dead, can't help anybody. Romana's phone beeps, and she's just like, fuck. And the doctor's phone beeps, and he's like, oh, right, radiation pills. I should tell Romana to take hers when I see her next, and he never does that. It's just kind of forgotten. The doctor's now at gunpoint, though, and is also taking his radiation pill, but Romana's back after a minute, and she's like, where's the doctor? He's gone. Oh my god, he left his book. And the vampire man shows back up and has Romana cornered, but she falls down a hole, passes out. So it's time to use the rope and maybe go get her. And the doctor is in the saucer from earlier, and all the aliens have thick asses. I'm talking about, like, huge dumpies. Big old cake. Like, sus as shit cake. Oh my god.
Delicious.
It, like, literally, for some reason, all the actors' asses are huge. And I don't know why. Also, their outfits don't really help.
The race of dummy thick aliens.
Yeah. Anyway, he's trying to mess with everything, and the main one goes, stop, don't do that. Then we learn of the planet is called Skaro, so, here we are, the Daleks. He asks them why they're here. He's intensely worried. Romana wakes up now and tries to figure out where the fuck she is, and a wall is wiggling intensely at her. And then the wiggly wall breaks, and a whole fucking bunch of Daleks bust through and go, hey, you're arrested. That's, yeah.
Wiggly wall, wiggly wall, wiggly wall, wiggly, wiggly wall.
Yeah.
Wiggly wall.
Wiggly jiggly.
Wall.
Wiggly jiggly.
Wiggly jiggly.
Mm-hmm.
Wiggly.
So, Cam, can you tell me about the thick asses?
Yeah, they got thick butts.
Mm-hmm. Are there any fun facts about the thick butts?
Oh, you want some? Okay, well, before we get to the thick butts, yes, Mary Tam is no longer Romana. She, I kind of said it last episode, but it's really sudden. She, a common myth was that she was pregnant and wanted to leave. That's not true. She just left because she felt there was nothing more with the character, and they kind of made her a little bit too much of a damsel sometimes, so that she was like, well, I'm gonna leave then. And then jokingly on her way out was like, hey, why don't you have Lala Ward replace me, the woman who played Astrid. Well,
yeah,
that's what they did. They dealt with it in a very comedic way, which is explains why this season is the era of Douglas Adams as a script editor. So there's a lot more comedy in the story, to which Terry Nation was very upset by. Supposedly as well, Terry Nation's original script was only made up supposedly about 2% of the story. Douglas Adams' rewrites made up the majority of this story, because Terry Nation was back and forth about writing this, and he still wanted to try and do a standalone Dalek show. He still thought it would work, so he was like, what if I write something like this? And they were like, just give us a script. And then he took forever to write the script. But this is kind of the start of a very different era of Doctor Who, a lot more comedic and a lot changing. For instance, Douglas Adams drafted a writer's guide for the first since like Dennis Spooner's era in the 60s, back when the second Doctor was, sort of recommending things to avoid and a series of observations on how time appeared to work in the Doctor's universe, that sort of thing, because they were coming up with a problem where people didn't know how to write for Doctor Who anymore. They were trying to get new writers in, but a lot of the scripts that they were given were unworkable. They were either way too expensive or ran over length considerably or just did not fit Doctor Who at all. So they kind of were in a little bit of strife. The last person Adams would have considered calling was Terry Nation. However, the producer was looking for writers for a new series he was writing and asked Terry Nation to contribute. And so when Adams was like, I can't fucking find anyone to write for Doctor Who. Oh, hey, you've got Terry Nation writing for this thing. Why don't we just get him to write another Dalek episode? And he, reluctantly did. So that's kind of where the behind the scenes of this story comes from. I'll talk more about what this story is about a little bit later. It's a little bit obvious when you think about it.
No.
For more than a second. But also you'll notice K9 had a weird voice. That's not John Leeson. John Leeson's gone. I forget the exact reason why, but he's gone this season. And his voice actor has been replaced. But the voice actor for him in this isn't the actual voice actor that replaced him. It's really weird. The voice actor for him is actually the voice actor for the Daleks, while he's doing the whole coughing and the thing. And you might think, oh, that's why he has laryngitis, so to cover it up. It's like, that kind of wasn't in the original, that was in the original script already. Like, the whole story kind of didn't make sense to have K9 in it, traveling on treacherous ground. And also Terry Nation complained that the Daleks would seem weak if they weren't allowed to kill K9.
Yeah.
Which I can understand. So they were like, okay, well, we'll keep K9 locked up. And initially there was a story about the way to break the stalemate between the two species was in K9. But then they were like, well, no, that's not a good idea. So they came up with this instead. But that's the journey that we started on. What happens in part 2, dear?
Well, Romana's captured, she has no weapons, and they're like, if you escape, we're gonna fucking kill you. And the vampire dude wasn't able to get her in time, but he saw everything happen, and he's like, oh my god. And the doctor, meanwhile, is trying to figure out what's going on. Something playing against the Daleks. Romana is in a truth orb consideration situation where she has to touch some balls and answer questions.
Wow.
I'm sorry, I didn't think about that when I wrote it, and now that's okay. Oh, she's apparently a Category 9, so she's no threat to them at all. So they release her, sort of. She's going to be put to labor and do what they tell her and obey. And, like Old Bay seasoning. The doctor asks again about the Daleks, but
That was really funny.
I'm trying. How dare you? I am trying.
Uh-huh.
Are you trying? I don't think so.
I can't beat Romana touches 2 balls.
Why is today full of testicles? I was eating the candy earlier, and now this.
You were eating some candy that looked like testicles.
I
confirmed
was.
it because we confirmed that it looks like testicles because Dear posted the picture in the Discord with no context because we were talking about it, and then Spooky 5 minutes later was just like, "Are those testicles?" And we're like, "Right."
To clarify, they're cherry-shaped candy, but they just look like a sack of testicles.
Because they're all one color.
Yeah.
They look like testicles.
Okay. Anyway, the doctor... okay, hold on. I need a second.
You okay?
No.
With your joke about herbs and obeying.
The Crab Shack, yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, the doctor asks again about the Daleks. He stopped from talking. Patrol found the vampire prisoner dude. He's an ex-pilot or something, and he was a prisoner of the Daleks. Then he's like, ugh, and he collapses. Cut to the other prisoners all dealing with rocks. They have prisoners from planets all across the fucking galaxy. There's also supposedly more prisoners in their ship, but if you try to escape, they just kill 5 random people and replace them. So don't try to escape because you're going to get other 5 people killed. Romana then goes like, well, they used to be human, and everyone goes, what? And then the radiation is getting to Romana, so she's like, I don't feel so good. But if she doesn't work, she'll be killed. And then the doctor tries to ask the vampire what they're mining for. He tells the doctor about what happened with Romana, and he's like, oh, God. So they're going to go sneak into the Daleks area thing, and the crew agrees and will go with them. Romana has collapsed and died and just kind of lays there. Meanwhile, the vampires are sneaking around with the doctor and take them to the place where the Daleks are. But why are they here? They were made here. Why did they come back? The doctor has an idea but doesn't say it and walks away. As he do. The big drill is ready to penetrate the unauthorized movement in the sector. Why did I write?
You combined 2 sentences.
I did, but it's because I skipped. But there's unauthorized movement in the sector, so we should go check on that. Oh, we're now at the main control center, basically. So a vampire and doctor leave, but we leave one Asgard to protect us. The Daleks are now telling people
Asgardian.
Yes, to remove Romana's body because it's taking up space, and they do. And the main Dalek has left the control room, so the doctor comes in, and they find a map, and some floor plans, and some bombs, and the doctor wonders why they didn't go this way instead of that way, and then there's Daleks all over the place, and the Asgard gets killed, and they assume they killed the intruder, and this is the only one, but then the doctor and them get caught, and they're like, oh my god, there's more intruders, so they get chased, but the doctor tries to look at the dead guy, and they're like, don't look. It's in our culture to not have aliens look at our dead bodies. And he's like, oh, okay. Sure. But then Vampire Dude is like, what the fuck? And Doctor's like, yeah, I don't know, but shut up about it for right now. So they go back out the mineshaft hole to get away, and the Daleks can't climb after them, and the Doctor has found the grave of Romana and digs her out as fast as he possibly can. She's fine. Apparently she was taught how to stop her hearts in school so she could feign death. And that's just a thing.
Yeah, when she taught that?
Yeah, no, mine was self-taught.
Oh. Did you teach yourself that when you were in the hospital?
No, I taught myself that in first grade whenever I was in gym and I had to run around in circles, like around the gym with everybody. And then I made my heart stop and everyone was really scared and it was great. But I learned how to do it. No, and I skipped out on some tests, and this is a really dark story, actually. Let's not.
Yep. Anyway, Herbs, balls, Romana, dead, got it.
God. Oh, this is what we get for being off for a week. Oh my god.
Yeah, sorry about that, by the way. It's because Dear's desk broke.
Yeah, I moved.
Initially, it was going to be because Dear moved, but then we actually were going to be able to record on time and
but then
make up the episode, but then Dear's desk just fucking fell apart.
Yep. And basically, if I tried to record like on the floor or whatever, the entire room was still not put together, so it would have sounded like shit and echoey as hell and terrible. It's fine. We're good now.
Dear would have been a smash announcer.
Rob. I can't. Anyway.
Rob.
I hate you. There's
going.
a reason I don't do it. Anyway. Romana's fine. She's taught to feign death. The doctor thinks there's a shaft in the place he almost died that one time, but weirdly the ass crew are acting strange. One is gonna go with him, one is gonna go to the ship. Wait, doctor, how did you know how to get in here? Don't worry about it. But the Daleks are drilling again, and he isn't sure what they're looking for, so the doctor is like, I'll tell you what it is when I find it, and then I find it, and it's Davros. He made the Daleks. It's his mummified body. And then there's another rock slide, and the ass alien is killed. And Vampire comes up and goes, we need to leave, and then he sees the mummy, and he's like, oh god, and then Davros moves him fingies, and he's fine.
Davros moves them magic fingers.
Mm-hmm.
So remember Davros from Genesis of the Daleks? Remember him?
Faintly.
Mr. Hitler?
Yeah, faintly.
Yeah. He's back! He's back!
Ooh.
Ooh. So when Terry Nation had been badgering the BBC to let him have one more go at launching a Dalek-led TV series, they kept denying him and were like, no. So instead he was like, fine, then I want to write a Dalek Davros story. He dragged his feet over submitting the final scripts, leaving Douglas Adams with little or no time to remove anything impractical or resolve it with any of the rest of season 17. One version of accounts claims that Terry Nation wrote the script with Sarah and Harry still on board the TARDIS, when it's like they hadn't been on board for years. Like, uh-oh. Also, Tim Barlow, who played Tyson, is actually profoundly deaf. He's half deaf, I believe. And Tom Baker took out a lot of his frustration on him. Remember, Tom Baker's pretty hard to work with back in the day, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Which, so also, this is the first episode in which they used a Steadicam, which is a rig used to obtain smooth, stable shots from a handheld camera. And that took up so much of the budget that all the costumes had to be reused, or like recycled, everything. One costume was a draconian costume, but not the mask. Another wore the trousers from the robots in the Robots of Death. Another had the head of a humanoid-formed Axon. Others wearing different spacesuits from all sorts of episodes throughout the years. It's a fun little game of spot the costume and what episode it belongs to. Also, the most of the story was meant to take place at night, but because of the budget, again, they were not able to get enough money to permit that kind of location filming, so it had to be rewritten for the day. Terry Nation was also unhappy with the scene where the Doctor taunts the Dalek by suggesting it climb up after him, as he believed that pointing out the Dalek's apparent design flaws made them less menacing and threatened their popularity with the viewing public. This also turned out to be his final contribution to the series. He does not write ever again for Doctor Who. Which is, kind of good because every Terry Nation Dalek episode goes exactly the same. Episode 1 is the Doctor wandering around a planet until the cliffhanger, which is, oh my god, it's Daleks.
Oh my god.
Then episode 2, 3, and 4, how do we deal with the Daleks?
Mm-hmm.
No, thankfully they kind of change it from here on out. There are still a number of episodes where the cliffhanger is, oh my god, it's Daleks, even though it's like, Daleks are in the title. Of course Daleks are going to be in it. Windspit Quarry in Dorset was also used for the planet of Skaro, and also used with the quarry's small stone cottage and 2 large brick buildings, which stood side by side and were just empty derelict shells with no roofs on them. The BBC added the flooring of 2 large buildings and a large number of silver-coloured cylinders and pipes sticking out of the rubble. The cylinders transform these 2 derelict shells into the external ruins of a long-abandoned Dalek city and disused Khalid bunkers. But yeah, this is a budget slash, but they're working with what they can. They're doing a decent job. But what happened in the next part, dear?
Well, Davros is awake now, and he was what?
Nothing.
Okay. Davros is awake now, and he's talking, and he was, like, resurrected, I guess, and now his chair has power, and the Doctor grabs him and just goes, God, I wish you were dead, and then we push him around like a shopping cart for a bit. And the Daleks show up and are very upset that Davros is gone, but look, we found human footprints, let's follow them. But the person under the rock wiggles their fingies too. The ass, it's fine. It's clapping. Anyway, Davros is upset. The Doctor tells him to fuck off, basically. They send Vampire down the corridor to check out, to see what's going on. Romana is helping the Doctor with rocks. They're now trapped in this little area, which is fun. Well, they need to find some cover. They send Vampire and Romana off to help through this mineshaft whole thing. And the Doctor talks about what's happened since he last met Davros, including the Olympics and space. But then is asked if he can really change destiny, and if he can really change how perfect Davros is going to make the Daleks and blah, blah, blah. He's going to make new designs to make them more powerful, but the Daleks need me, and the Doctor goes, no, they left you for dead, what the fuck? And the ass aliens now have understood who Davros is, and the Daleks are looking for him. Romana and the Vampire are found by a Dalek, so they split up, and he goes up the mountainside and kind of gets shot a little bit. And the Doctor has now done whatever to a bomb that he has. It's apparently health insurance to stay alive. Sort life insurance, whatever. Apparently he wasn't dead. Everything was in suspension. He can't allow himself to die until the Daleks win everything. The Doctor's like, they killed people. And Davros goes, not enough. And then the Doctor is like, you suck. But then the door blows in and the Daleks are here to kill the Doctor. But he has a bomb, and he's like, if you do this, I'm going to kill Davros. And Davros is like, go away. Do what he says. Back up. And so they do. And then Romana has her run all the way back down to the ass people. And she's like, oh, God, help. Wait, no, how do you know about Davros? What is happening? I'm trapped on this ship now. The Daleks have now brought captives that they will kill up until the moment that the Doctor lets up. So he makes some conditions to, A, release all the slave workers, and B, let me run away. And they say no, and we're at a standoff, but Davros goes, agree, goddammit, I'm telling you to. So they obey, and everyone is now free. And the bomb is apparently remote control, so they, if they come for him a bit before time is up, he can make it go off. The Doctor fucks off and thinks about exploding it for a bit, but by the time he sets it off, it's already off of Davros, and it's on a Dalek, so he's like, all right, cool, let's leave and go make you perfect. Romana is trying to leave the ship, but her brain gets fried, and she gets knocked out for a while. And all the asses clap and just want the Doctor to destroy the planet. The Doctor finds a weird rubbery living thing and goes, oh, I understand now, and then throws it at a rock. And the ass crew is planning something, and the Doctor and Vampire meet up and get caught by a Dalek, and the Dalek blows up. But the ass that blew it up comes down and goes, okay, now you're coming back to my ship because it's an order. But we steal her gun and she falls to the ground and I guess kind of dies because she's a robot. Oops. And the thing is that the ass people are basically making the atmosphere they have a bomb.
Take a breath.
They have a bomb thing that makes the atmosphere flammable and they test it inside a small tube and they're like, oh, that's cool. And then cut to Romana, now placed in that weird tube, and the Doctor and Vampire dude stumbling upon it and go, gasp. Vampire hides, and Doctor is gonna get Romana out while the timer counts down. Wow.
Beep, 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 beep. Dead. So like I said, budget, not good. No much money.
Yeah.
So much so that the actor for Davros is a completely different actor. They couldn't get the original one back, and they didn't have enough money in the budget to get a new mask. All they could do was refit the mask that they had for a new actor, which is why when Davros talks, his jaw looks a bit stiff and doesn't open all the way, because the mask is a little bit iffy. Sorry, I just saw something really dumb. This episode, as you may have noticed, is that we're going back to the politics of the Cold War again. As we saw in the Armageddon Factor, US government's military strategy was conditioned by the mathematical game theory, and before that, the symbolic logic. As almost all electronic circuitry is based on the system of AND, OR, NAND, or AND, NOR gates. Truth tables and the like. It made sense to apply this process to politics, economics, social behavior, and most successfully animal behavior. If you could give numerical values to the, quote, success of a strategy, then you could calculate which ones to use. Give values of 1, 0, or -1 for any stage. As long as you wind up with a score above 0, you're winning. Especially when you're the only player with a score above 0. When a 1969 version of this model, quote, proved that the US had won the Vietnam War in 1965, it was time to rethink this. The model makers had already seen a drastic abandonment of their cherished dreams of a safe, predictable world. The calculations couldn't get them out of the Cuban Missile Crisis in a way that didn't involve millions of casualties. And the standoff was ultimately two grown men and their advisors playing chicken. First one to put self-preservation above losing face loses the game. The snag with this strategy, which mathematically is a very robust one, is that it makes no allowances for anyone with a death wish. The Kennedy administration figured out that Khrushchev didn't have a game plan for this, and so threatened a disproportionate response, an all-out war, for a comparatively minor infringement of US sovereignty. Unsure whether Kennedy meant it or not, the Kremlin blinked first. Although, supposedly that's the conventional view of it. It's based off the assumption that the US and the USSR were playing the same game, when, they were very much on different levels with things. Recently recovered evidence from the Kremlin hints that Khrushchev may have seen things differently, but that's a different story. The wide point to take from all of this is that until you can accurately evaluate your opponent's priorities, you cannot predict their responses. As we've seen recently, people who believe that being executed for killing infidels gets them into heaven cannot be intimidated. All sorts of terrorism and the such. Whereas people who put the lives of their countrymen above those of any other nation can't be persuaded. Calculating for the whims of groups or individuals who value different, possibly unknown things require the Pentagon to hire social anthropologists, but nothing could prepare them for the counterculture who deliberately resisted numerically evaluated ambitions. Tossing coins or picking random destinations made them harder to police. As with so much of Douglas Adams' writing, Robert Sheckley did in Science Fiction First. Fool's Mate was a story he wrote, has two vast space fleets poised at an impasse for decades until one of them does something random to fox the computers. This is traditionally how one defeats chess programs, and in a wider sense, this idea, like the randomizer and the TARDIS, and the Doctor's resistance to both Guardians, is part of a late 70s style existentialist notion, common to many TV heroes of the time. We've already fleetingly seen this in 60s stories, but under Graham Williams it becomes a signature sort of ideology of the program. This story's big narrative thrust is the use of zombies, with the Doctor's comment that the living dead are cold to the touch, mirroring the later discovery that Movellans don't have normal body temperatures. We're not exactly in Dawn of the Dead territory here, but a film buff like Adams could conceivably have asked Terry Nation for something along those lines, and got a story like this instead. After all, Skaro was originally sold to us as the Dead Planet, and the idea of Daleks as creatures who refuse to die is there in Davros' ranting once he wakes up from his multi-millennial nap. So that's where this all comes from.
I hate that we're
sort
watching
little
this
bits of,
right now in the current day and age.
Little bits of zombie narrative, little bits of Cold War narrative, which, you know, zombie narrative is very much fueled by Cold War.
Mm-hmm. I just hate everything right now. It's fine.
The more things change, the more they stay the same, dear.
I know.
What happens in the next part?
If only we watched this a year ago. Anyway.
What's next part, dear?
So they're like, how are we gonna get this open? We only have like 20 Mario seconds left, but then the ass people show up and knock out the doctor. The bomb was apparently not actually armed because they were like, why would we arm it? We only wanted to get the doctor. So let's grab them both and let's go back. Davros is upset that a ship is coming to Skaro, but isn't coming fast enough. He also tells them they need to make any sacrifice needed to protect him. Apparently the Supreme Dalek is something that upsets him because he's like, I'm the Supreme Dalek, what the fuck? And the ass crew is ready to lift off and leave. However, I guess we should use the bomb manually because the Daleks might find it and destroy it. So this one dude is going to be sent off to his death to do that. The doctor wakes up and goes, robots! And Romana is slowly waking up as well. He also goes, sorry, but you're literally never going to defeat the Daleks, and I'll show you by using a game and the same shit for like 10 fucking minutes. Davros is upset that they've been failing for centuries and no one's even shot anybody yet. So the doctor plays rock, paper, scissors and goes, but what if we were battle fleets? And they're like, okay, what? And they try to play it amongst themselves and they basically make all the same choices. And wow, it's like it's peace. But then they play the doctor and he wins because he's human. So they still need to win, right? But regardless, the doctor could help. No, because Davros does the same thing for the Daleks. So we're still at a stalemate. But wait, we have the bomb, I guess. Cut to the bomb. And cut to the bomb.
Boom!
The bomb guy is squishing a rock randomly. I don't know why. Too bad all the released miners take the robot dude's battery away from him, killing him, and they hotwired it into something else. And I guess put it back because the doctor told them to. The Daleks are going to leave in a bit, but also narrow down that the other ship will be leaving, so they need to destroy it. And they are still fucking playing rock, paper, scissors. And then he hands her a jelly baby, and he's like, I have a plan, I guess. The robots are going to go check on that bomb guy, see if he's okay, because he's not answering. Then the bomb guy comes up and basically fucks up the other robot that came to check up on him. Something Dalek victory space war. The Daleks are now strapped with bombs and are going to blow the fuck out of the ship with their own bodies. Mm-hmm. The Doctor and Romana are fake fighting, and then the ex-captured bros and the new robot attack the current robots. Thus, able to reprogram them all or something, or they're knocked out, doesn't matter. Vampire comes up and goes, I haven't seen Davros. And the Doctor is going out to find Davros, but sees the Daleks with bombs on him and goes, oh no. And then he's like, Davros, I'm in your ship. And then they chat about it being a stalemate. And they're like, there's a way to fix it, right? But now the Doctor, I guess, is captured because there's a Dalek here. And then the bomb Daleks are advancing on the ship, but they're also going to detonate that air changer thing, which fucks them as well. The captives know the Daleks are coming, so they start a fight where most of them just run away. And the last semi-alive robot is crawling towards the air bomb thingy to set it off, but Romana runs for it, fucking fights him, rips his arm off, and saves the day, I guess. The Doctor throws his hat on the Dalek's eye thingy, keeping him trapped. The Dalek that's keeping him trapped then does a woohoo, run away, plants a bomb on the Dalek, shoves it away, blows up his own hat to save the day. Honestly,
his poor hat.
Such sacrifice. And so now we arm wrestle Davros for a second, then force him to set off the Daleks before they get to the ship, so he saves everybody. Cut Davros in a box. Doctor mentions that they wanted irrational thought, which is why they came back for Davros. Also, a prison ship is coming to get you and put you on trial. Also, you're a solid block of ice now, haha. And the Doctor and Romana fucking book it out of the ship while it takes off. And then they dig the TARDIS out from under the rocks, chat about things casually, and Romana goes, "You only win because you make mistakes," and then they go, ha ha ha, and jump in the TARDIS and leave. Yeah.
But what happens to you when they jump in the TARDIS to leave?
I don't care.
Romana goes, you're so successful because you make mistakes. And he goes, maybe once in a century I'll make a mistake. And then they take off, and he hits the wrong switch. Ah!
Mm-hmm.
It's funny.
Mm.
Anyway, that is Destiny of the Daleks. It's a very stock standard story. It's a very Terry Nation story. A lot of running around, a lot of interesting ideas, but all in all, kind of amounts to nothing. The Movellans are a neat concept. They never come up again. They come up in audios and extended media, and there's some interesting stuff with them there, but they never really show up on the TV show ever again. So, yeah. Destiny of the Daleks, dear. Do you like Romana too?
No.
You'll like her, trust me.
This episode's out of
think?
3 for me. Because there's so many little things that I just don't care.
We got our third 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that is Destiny of the Daleks. The next episode, possibly one of the most beloved episodes of all time. It's written by Douglas Adams and a few others. City of Blank, dear.
Person, place, or thing.
Concept.
Oh, fuck. Fear.
Close. 2 guesses left.
When you say close to fear, what do you mean? Like a similar concept, or like an emotion, or...
I just mean you're on the right track.
Fuck. Is it a negative thing or a positive thing?
Some would say it's neutral. Some would say it's negative. Some would say it's positive. I would say it's neutral.
Death.
Yep. City of Death.
Yeah, I know you well enough for that one.
City of Death. Hope you like location shooting, and I hope you like Paris.
Is it a quarry in Paris?
Better.
Yeah.
It's a Paris in Paris.
Oh. Wow.
City of Death.
Woo.
Get excited. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add, dear?
Nope.
Oh, you never want to add anything. You never want to contribute.
2.
Oh.
That's what I'm adding.
That's a good number. That's a good number.
No, I'm adding to it. So 2. What are you adding?
7.
Oh, so okay, so we have a 9. Got it. We're ending on a 9. Got it.
Okay, we're ending on a 9. Yeah, this episode was a 9. I'll change the
Don't you fucking
ratings.
dare. My time with you was a 9.
See you next week.
Now it's a 1.
See you next week.
Now it's a 1.